Hi, I'm Bran, and I once again love The Way Home.
Yeah, I'm Ryan. I can confidently say I like The Way Home.
I'm Dan. Despise The Way Home. This is the Deck the Hallmark podcast.
Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host his podcast.
We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Hi, everybody.
Oh,
Welcome back.
boy.
It's great to be here
Hello.
for the Hallmark Plus exclusive program,
Except
The Way
it
Home.
isn't.
All right. They tried,
They
though.
tried it. They
no
did.
one can say they didn't
Yeah,
try.
they technically tried.
They
Yes.
tried it for a
College try.
day.
Yes.
They
College
tried
try.
it for a day.
Mhm.
The Way Home. It's back, everybody. Season 3, episode 1. We're excited to talk about it. Ryan,
Bran.
it's been not a week. You were with us last
Yeah, it's
week.
been.
But how are you? It feels longer to me personally.
How does it feel to be off of the Hallmark Plus movie beat and onto the kind of Hallmark Plus TV series beat?
I mean, we should pull the curtain back. There was a series of conversations a few months ago where I was like, maybe I'll be the Hallmark Plus guy. And you know what? Really, through no fault or intention of our own, here we landed there.
Yeah.
We landed where we said we were going to land.
Yeah, we did. We made it. I mean,
And you're
there's-
the Way Home.
Yeah,
and
we're-
they
you're
said
the Way
it for
Home
a
guy.
second.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
the Way Home guy first.
That's right.
Before anything
From
else.
day one. I mean, I guess day 2 technically, but I mean, you know, this is officially. I'm 2 years in now, right? We started Way
That's
Home
right.
season 1.
Yeah.
Can you believe
That's
that?
wild.
That is crazy. I thought this Christmas break was the longest in the best way that I've ever experienced in my life. I felt like I wasn't doing anything. Like I didn't have to work. I didn't have to coach basketball.
Yeah, I watched you through the window.
it-
you weren't doing anything.
All right. Well, that's weird. But I stand
What's where my trampoline is where I jump at night. I can see
my
you.
entire living room.
Yeah, I can see your
and
whole
yes,
living
Of
room.
course.
Especially
That's
on
how
a
I saw
double
that
jump.
Your dogs were ripping apart your
We
grill.
do each other favors.
I was sitting
Yeah,
eating
it
food with
behooves
my
us.
kids and I looked outside. You got a new Blackstone grill. Your dogs were going to town.
Yeah.
Rip the cover off. Theo's in the grease pit.
You got to
It was
clean
great.
out the grease pit.
You got to
learned
clean out the grease
lesson,
pit.
and there you
Yeah,
go.
that's on you. But on follow.tv/DTH, you can see that Ryan still got his Christmas tree up and rolling. So he's
I know, but the
Everything
but-
else is gone.
but if
I was
you
telling
peep-
Bran about this
If
earlier.
you peep it,
Dan.
the ornaments are off.
Yeah, no, I mean,
interesting.
it's been literally an all-day affair to get everything down. But we were in the final stages. We had to eat, and I was like, "Listen, you know what? Let's just leave the trees up for another week." You know.
I just want to
Wow.
thank
Wow.
you, thank you, Ryan.
Hey, thank you, Bran.
You've been such a
Thank
good
you, Ryan.
friend. You've been such a good friend to me, and I turn to Dan for a lot of things in my life. Like he's my best friend in the world, and I talk to him about everything. Dan knows everything that goes on in my life.
That's true.
I feel like.
That's true.
I did not.
I let him
once-
borrow a lot of things over the fence.
I did not once text Dan about how sad I was that Christmas was over. I didn't once text
No.
him on the evening of the 25th or the 26th or the days after about how I was doing. But I did text with you, and I do want to thank you for your friendship and for your service to me over the past couple weeks.
I mean,
meant
listen,
a lot.
man, it goes both ways. We were really there for each other through a tough time. That tough time being the hours of Christmas night through the rest of the year
I don't
until
wanna say
November
it out
1st.
loud because I think people get it, but you guys do have it tough.
Yeah.
You guys both have it real tough. Like there's people out there who are like, live in houses and eat food whenever they want and stuff. But you guys have it hard.
I mean,
We sure do. As two fellas, we have it tough.
I've been very transparent in the Facebook group. By the way, speaking about having it tough, there's definitely I have a fireplace on behind me, but there's definitely ads going on right now. So I'm very strategically putting my head in front of my TV because I don't know what the ads are. It could be for like,
Follow.tv/DTH. You
Yeah.
may catch an ad.
probably wouldn't have known if I didn't say anything. But
The
I've been
one
very
button ad skip does not control Ryan's
Ryan's
TV
house.
apparently, and
Man,
now we
yeah,
found that out.
it's tough.
We found that out.
but I've been very transparent
Oh,
in
it's
the Facebook
back.
group. Yeah, we're good now.
There it is.
Yeah,
Look at that
we have
fire.
probably at least another hour, so we should be fine.
Good.
I've been very transparent. I'm trying to buy less this year.
Yeah,
It's
let's
been
talk about that real quick before we
Yeah.
dive into the Way Home season 3.
We got nowhere to be.
What's that about? You posted on the
Buying
Facebook
less?
group that you had a vinyl of Allie and AJ. It was
The unreleased album.
$110,
$110 with shipping. 110. Yeah.
which is too much.
That's a lot of money.
I think we all agree.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
told you.
But you said in that post about that, and I think maybe you were just hoping someone would buy it for you. I don't really know.
No, it was already gone at that point. It was already gone at
It was
that
already
point. It was a
gone.
limited release.
But that you want to buy less in 2025, which goes against our plan to start the eBay podcast.
Yes, that's right.
So what gives?
Dan Brandon, the eBay kid.
Deck the Hall, HAUL. Listen, guys, like, you know,
Dang it, did you come up with that right now?
No, that was somebody in the Facebook group.
Facebook.
I
That's
have no
really
original
good.
ideas.
Yeah.
That's really good.
But that is really good. I mean, for that reason alone, we should do it. You know, listen, you know, it's at a certain point, how much more do I need, right? Now, granted, the podcast, I feel like can operate.
You could have said that years ago.
It really is. After I got the helmet, like, what else could
That's
you know?
it.
I got a green use prop, like, you know, but
Marginal
no, I mean,
utility,
you know,
man. That's what
I
what
think
that
that
is.
I can't. I got to tell you though, I'm actively regretting not getting that vinyl every single day. It's not
I mean,
a bit. It's not
right.
a bit.
And I've said this. Maybe I shouldn't say this on the air, but you know, we try everybody that's a regular host. We try to pay them a little something here at Deck the Hallmark, and
Yes, I
we
appreciate
try to pay you a little bit, not a lot of money, but a little bit of money. And
Obliged.
I've suggested that you use that as your eBay budget, and that's
Yeah,
a
well,
fun like limit to be like, hey, how much can I get for? Because knowing that you nickel and dime that, like, you know what I mean? Like you're not out there spending $100 chunks. You're like, I was willing to go $14 for this Kermit flip flop, but I wasn't willing to go 15.
Just one?
Yeah.
Just
But yeah, you had the right one already. You need the left. But like you
by the way, could you stop acting like that wouldn't be a real scenario that you would find yourself in?
Yeah, you're a
I never denied it.
So like you could make, you could do that, but I don't know. I'm not trying to get you back in the game. If you want to get out of the game,
listen.
get out of the game.
The reality is, I'm not out of the game, right? I mean,
pull you
I'm
back
gonna
in.
keep. I'm keeping a running list of all the things I want. I mean, like, listen, this Alley and AJ vinyl alone, once it becomes available on the secondary market, it's probably gonna be triple what. I mean, now I need it. I mean, it's like, honestly, it was like I should have just freaking bought it. It was stupid. This is a
$110.
dumb
It's a big
idea.
deal.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. This is kind of like your potential breakup song of you and eBay.
Here we
if
go.
you think about it.
I'm going into the rush.
You
in terms
really
of all
are.
this.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right.
We'll see what happens when the chemicals react.
I take it.
Yeah, you nailed it. You
Yeah.
took 2. That's what you did.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
You want to talk about The Way Home?
Let's
or-
talk about it. The
Let's
Way
do it.
Home, season 3, episode 1. It's called "You Ain't Seen Nothing
You
Yet."
ain't seen nothing yet.
Is that a song,
Bow,
Brand?
bow.
It
They
is.
do song titles?
Songs from
Ain't seen nothing yet.
74.
Yeah.
January 3rd, 2025.
Taking Care of Business is the other Bachman Turner.
Ah,
album.
yeah.
Dang it, they just went 2 for 2.
And I'm pretty sure same album.
Wow.
I could be wrong on that.
Man, that's crazy. January 3rd, 2025 on Hallmark Channel. Next day, Hallmark Plus. Which you can add on file.
Stupid.
And it went a little something like this. The episode kicks off with what seems like a flashback of sorts. A woman writes a letter and puts it next to a baby in a basket. She grabs a man's hand and they jump into the pond. The next cut to present day, Jacob tells Kat that he's sure that he wants to do this, and by this he means meeting their mom. You remembered how last season ended,
Yeah.
and this
yeah,
was not a
man.
surprise to you.
No. This is all just set up, man.
I know. He walks in and Dell immediately is overwhelmed by this, begins to cry and hugs him. He sees Alice and says, "It's you from that one time." And he remembers her from when she traveled back to his childhood. Dell is very confused. Kat gives her a notebook saying this contains the story of Jacob's life and all of the time travel stuff. I'm sure you won't have any questions after you read this. Apparently she doesn't. Cut to Elliot, who is continuing the demo of his house, the wall. Remember he did that thing with the wall? Inside the wall is a clock. And he's confused for a second until Kat arrives with good news about Jacob. Jacob goes upstairs to shave. Dell tells Kat that he fits into Colton's clothes. That's just crazy. They check on him, and Dell gives Jacob his stuffed bear as they look at the glow-in-the-dark stars. The next day, Kat catches Alice looking at her phone, staring at a picture of Casey wearing the necklace with the engagement ring on it from last season. You remember it. Alice suspects that they're a time traveler, but Kat thinks that Alice is reaching. The family comes together to hatch a plan to explain Jacob's return, so they take it to the news. They claim that a family found him, raised him
off the grid,
and then on their deathbeds revealed the truth to them.
They were off the grid.
They were off the grid.
There's nothing we can do.
They were off the grid. Fast forward, Jacob is working the land like it's the 1800s.
Here's what happened. They took him. He was off the grid. There's nothing we can do. Sorry, go back to you. All on board.
Jacob's
Off the grid.
working the land like it's the 1800s, and he's thriving. Kat and Elliot's relationship is stronger than ever, and she is publishing her new book that includes the chapter that Susanna wrote, which was previously ripped out. Dell receives a suspicious envelope in the mail. Inside of it is a note that reads, "Your lie is known." Apparently, it's not the first one of these that she has gotten. That night, Kat pulls out one of her dad's old books. She accidentally spills wine on it and reveals a secret message. No curses in the water. Believe in magic. Come to the pond. I gotta be honest.
Pretty good song lyric.
Pretty good song lyric. She wonders if her dad left that message. No curses in the pond. Believe in the magic. Come to the pond. Ba-da-bow.
Was it pond twice?
Come to the pond. No curses in the water.
No curses in the water. There it is.
She wonders if her dad left that message
Smoke
and
on
if
the
he knew about the pond. The next day, Alice returns from Minneapolis, where she's been with her dad during the summer. She's looking very fancy, very profesh. She notices a sticker on her, Kat notices a sticker on her guitar, which belonged to Colton that says The Coils. She realizes that this was Thomas's last name, Thomas Coyle. When they asked Dell about it, she says that used to be what the old point was called back in the day. Called it a coil. Kat has been missing the pond, Susanna, and maybe even Thomas. Maybe even guy who faked his death.
Remember that? I remember that. He was wearing that giant pan on his chest.
Boink.
Gunshot. Ka-tong.
He's dead. That's the sound of
That's the
sound of flesh.
That's the sound of a grown man's
That's
heart
the sound of
being
bullet
shattered by a bullet. Ka-boink. Ka-tong. That's how they all sound.
She and Alice visit the pond to reminisce. Kat speaks to the pond, telling Susanna about her chapter being published. Alice encourages her to just jump back in. It's way less weird if you just jump in than it is with you talking to the pond. Kat is hesitant, but ultimately decides to give it a shot. She ends up back in the 1800s. Womp womp for me. She finds Elijah, who explains that Jacob had to jump because the British were coming for him for treason. Jumping was the safest choice, which wasn't exactly the story that he told. He warns her to leave because people still think that she's the White Witch. Before leaving, she visits Susanna. Kat tells Susanna that she misses her, but Susanna insists that she has to stop coming back here. Kat promises that she will, but asks Susanna to keep writing. It's going to go somewhere. On her way out, Susanna then sits down and looks at the painting she has under her bed, the one that we know will eventually be titled My Catherine. Thank you, Dan said. You full of confidence. At the pond, Thomas appears. Kat tells him it's over between them and she's moved on. Back in present day, Jacob reflects on how his dad told him to never go to the pond. Kat confronts him about why he came. Jacob admits that it's true that the British were after him, but he is happy that he's here. He feels like a coward, though, and struggles to adapt to the time. He's just working on the farm. That's all he's doing. At Elliot's housewarming party, he's finished renovating his house. Alice announces that she wants to pursue PR instead of music. Everybody is shocked by this. Dell surprises Elliot by handing him a demo record that she has of Colton from 1974. As they begin to listen, Alice notices someone running in the fields outside, so she goes to check on what's going on there. We learn that Dell and Sam have been secretly meeting in the barn. So do with that what you
Nearly
will.
nude?
Nearly
Well,
nude.
we don't have that segment this year.
Not this year. I haven't seen any press at least.
Nope.
Kat confesses to Elliot that she time traveled back to the 1800s one last time. Instead of responding, Elliot plays another track from the record. Kat doesn't recognize this song, but it seems to be about the pond. She's like, maybe he really does know about the pond. Suddenly, another voice begins to sing, and it sounds a lot like Alice. Kat searches first, like, oh my gosh, Alice is going to time travel back to 1974. I got to find her, but she's not at home. Jacob, however, is at home, and he has another flashback of his dad telling him that he loves him no matter what will happen. The episode ends with Alice at the pond. She finds a sweater, calls her mom, and leaves a message asking her to come to the pond because somebody else is using it. And as she's leaving that message, someone runs up from behind her and pushes her into the water.
I'm a pusher.
I'm a push him. And that, my friends, was The Way,
Home, Season 3, Episode 1.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
We did it.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, and we will break this episode down here on
Deck the Hallmark.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's great to be here again for another season of The Way Home, Season 3, Episode 1. We're breaking it down. We're going to act like the second season didn't happen. We're going to dive right into this one. We're going to share our hot takes. We're going to share exactly how we felt about this episode of The Way Home. It's great to be back. Ryan, what'd you think of The Way Home?
Bran, I'm glad you said that in the way you said it, because during the opening recap,
The way you said that was important.
yeah, well, no, it's because during the opening recap, two things happened for me personally. One, I said, thank God for this opening recap, because I need to cover this show and I need to remember what happened in season 2.
I love a recap.
Yeah. Previously on helped
but
a
then,
bunch.
in
here.
retrospect, we maybe should have done our recap. But listen, there's only so much time in a year. The second thing that happened, though, is a lot of it came flooding back to me very quickly. And I'll be curious to see how both of you feel about how I'm approaching this. I think I know how Dan feels, but maybe I'm wrong. I didn't agree with a lot that happened in season 2. I mean, I think we all agreed that season 1 was maybe the best thing that Hallmark ever produced.
Yes.
And by the end of that season, we just thought it was legitimately a really good TV show.
Yeah.
Period. Not a really good
Yes.
Hallmark show.
Correct.
And so we were all, even Bran, even though he lied and said he liked a lot of the episodes, we were all really let down by.
I
Brandon
believe
the
I,
best he
said
could.
I loved a lot of the episodes.
That's right. Yeah.
We're back,
baby.
per my contract.
That's right. Yeah. Signed in blood at the Brambletram Network Studios.
The things that happened in season 2 were twofold, right? On the one hand, I just didn't like a lot of the creative decisions, but that's just me. That's just us. Other people definitely watched the episodes and did like that. The other thing we did not like, I think all of us, was that we thought we had a clear definition of the rules of the universe, and we thought that a lot of those rules were manipulated and changed, and that left us frustrated. But after this recap, and as I went through the episode, my hot take is, we are where we are. And I really liked what happened in season 3, episode 1. I thought it was really good. And I thought it was really exciting. We cannot change, ironically, given the premise of the show, we cannot change what happened, which isn't to say that at times I think I'm going to get frustrated because they did change the rules. And I don't think that adult Jacob should be in present day. And I don't know if all of these X, Y, and Z things are working. But if I'm just focusing on what happened in season 3, episode 1, I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really good. I thought it was really exciting. And I would say the one thing I worry about with this show, we don't have a lot of time for lobster socials going forward.
Man,
we had this problem last season too, as much as we love the lobster social, right? But like the toughest balance this show tries to strike is that these insane otherworldly things are happening. But then also here's just Alice having like a tough math quiz.
Yeah.
The show just has to be about mythos at this point for me. But in terms of an episode, sorry, this was long-winded. I thought it was great. I'll be curious to see where you two land in relation to how we proceed.
Right. I got to be honest, and I'm not giving my hot take yet. I just want to tell you this. Even though I didn't agree with everything you said personally, a great hot take. Like just well thought out, articulate, Crushed it. One of the best, and you always bring it. One of the best you've ever given, just in how you laid it out. Really, really good.
Well, let me try
Appreciate
my hand.
Yeah. We're back, baby.
We're back, baby! Yeah! This episode freaking rolled from start to finish. Aside from the 5 minutes we were in the 1800s, I was really hopeful. We started this episode, and I'm like, we're forgetting about last season. We're just going to go trucking on, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And then we were in the 1800s for about 5 minutes, and hopefully that's about the end of that this season. I don't know. But the potential of going to the 70s, let's go. Really excited about that. And I just felt like this episode had a great pace to it. This episode felt like it was zipping and zapping, which is not the way that a lot of last season felt. There was a lot of like, oh man. It used to be season 1 was like, when we knew we were going to have a good time when we were going to the pond. And last year when they went to the pond, I was like, please don't. For the love of God, don't go to the pond.
We've got
and now
lobsters to social.
I
was made to mingle.
I had a great time with this episode. A lot of fun. A lot of questions have come up for that hopefully are going to be answered in some way, shape, or form over the next season. And I will just say this. Yes, you're right. Do I wish that Jacob maybe didn't come back because it didn't make a ton of sense? Sure. But here we are. And I felt like overall, I got to be honest, this is how bad I thought last season was. I forgot the season ended with Jacob traveling back to the future.
No, I did remember that.
And so when he was there, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot. And they just go boom right away. They jump right into it. The pacing of this episode was fantastic. I can't wait to see where this season goes. I last season I maybe said we're back baby a couple times.
You did.
It got away from me. I don't think this one's getting away from me. I think that this is the real deal. We are back. Dan.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the way home. Ryan, to piggyback on what you're saying and a little bit about what you said initially, not your whole thing, we're back, baby, but what you said initially about like, we try to forget season 2 ever happened. I'm with you, Ryan. I got into this episode with the thesis of, hey, clean slate. I don't love that. When shows do that, it shows that they're not the greats, but every show has to do that. They have to pivot. They have to turn. They have to realize, like Friday Night Lights, season 2 wasn't good. Got right out of it. That whole Landry Tyra murder thing, gone.
Oh,
let's move on. It's terrible.
God.
Right? So like, that was what I was hoping for out of this was, hey, mulligan. Can you give us a mulligan? Can you give us a mulligan? And early on, Kat goes to Elliot and is just like, hey, I choose you. It's over. No big deal. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think they just did it. I think with one line and Jacob coming back here, they just wiped away the 1800s and we're never going back there. And we're going to have a new season with character development and all kinds of great stuff. That's not happening. Bran, it's not happening. Jacob is conflicted. He wants to go back to the 1800s. The show that I want to see, and I know this is not fair. It's fine if you make a show that's not for me. The season 1 was so good because you have these characters in different places in time that can empathize with characters not in their place in time. And there's actual loss. You tell me this all the time. You're always like, Dan loves when show ends more than anybody else. I love when shows end when they're supposed to end. Like Shrinking season 2 is one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. And part of me doesn't want them to make more because I just think it's perfect and they shouldn't deal with it. I think loss is important. I think loss matters. Colton dying and the finiteness of Colton dying, I think elevates the show and it elevates the feelings that you get watching the show. And to find out that he's just zipping around somewhere loses that for me.
Maybe.
And so, but here's the thing. You're
zipping.
right. Maybe. Fine. Maybe. But my hope for season 3 was, let's go back to the 90s again. There's more to do there. There's still more mysteries to be had. Let's continue this back and forth to understand each other better and to move through loss and to be closer as a family and to learn how to get rid of generational trauma and to use the pond as a fun time travel device to do that. I am telling you right now, Brand, we're not done with the 1800s. The 1800s are going to be a big part of this season. It's going to be a big part of what we do, and you're going to have to, unfortunately, watch it. That is unfortunate. It also strikes me as a show that is trying to just manipulate the deck for whatever they're doing at the end. Like the best shows feel like a very natural progression of character. This show feels like, all right, what do we want the end of this season to be? Let's reverse engineer it back to the beginning. So I'm very worried. Are there some things that I liked in this episode? Yeah, I think there's some fun to be had with the 70s and the fact that she's singing on this track, which there's some wait, what's there, but like, I think there's some fun to be had there with like, what's Colton up to? What did Alice do with him in the 70s? You know, there's this book with the wine and, you know, showing this fun cryptic song lyrics. Like, there's some fun stuff here, but I don't have any trust that it's going to come to fruition in a way that is qualitatively beneficial and consistent to the characters. And so for me, that's important. More important than the rest of it. And I don't think that, I think I might be alone in that. And that's fine. And that's fine. For me, I'm worried that we're not going to ever get the show we got in season 1 again. And so if we don't, that's fine. If it's better than season 2, I'd love to watch a great Hallmark television show. But season 1 was a great television show. And I love not having to have that Hallmark moniker in front of it. And so there were glimpses here, but I'm very, very concerned that those glimpses are going to fade into the darkness that is the 1800s and the love triangle with Thomas and Elliot, and I'm that's where I am. And I'm sorry that I think that maybe I'm just being too pessimistic. I don't want to be. I feel like I'm a pretty optimistic person. But if you think we're done with the 1800s, I think every clue of every character here says we're not.
Well, let's just find out.
If we aren't, though, if the 1800s are gonna be a part of this, is that gonna be a problem for you, Brad?
It could be a hurdle.
Yeah,
Be a hurdle.
Ryan, do you think we're done with the 1800s?
Time it's been in the 70s.
I think we'll see them at least in a couple more episodes.
I could do what they did this episode. Yeah, I could do 5 minutes of that.
Somebody
five
said
minutes of the 1800s in app, and I'm in.
Megan said something really good in the chat, which is seems like Dan didn't like the episode based just on his presumptions of what he thinks will happen. I never said I didn't like the episode, but everything else you said is correct. I am very, very concerned that they don't know what plane they're flying or how to land it. So there are some things I liked in this episode quite a bit. There's some things I didn't like or I thought were very silly. I thought the episode as a whole better than most of season 2. So I didn't dislike the episode, but I am very concerned about where it's going. So aside from that first line, yeah, that's exactly correct.
Real quick, because I know we're running long, but I know I made this analogy last season, but there is the fear that like season 3 of Heroes was just trying to parody season 1 Heroes episodes, so that it's like season 2 is really bad of Heroes, and then season 3 they said let's just try to emulate what everyone really liked in season 1, except the magic was gone. And they were parodying themselves. So I don't think that's what this episode was. I really enjoyed it, but I do think that's the risk a show like this runs. And when you're trying to like totally revert 180 the other way.
But I do think at the end of the day, they know they're comfortable making a soap opera where everyone can always still be alive and we can always go to a different time thing. And somebody could have been time traveling. You don't know it. And like it becomes the Avengers, right? It becomes the Marvel Cinematic Universe where every character is still alive. And that works for a lot of people. And that doesn't mean it's a bad, like it doesn't work for me, but it works for a lot of people. And I think that's where they're headed and that's fine.
Let's get to all the feels. We're going to talk about what this episode gave us feels, right?
So to the point of everything we're talking about, I don't necessarily really love the Papa Landry stuff, like in terms of like, it's like, I don't totally hate it. There's elements of it that intrigue me. I don't know if it's creative choice. And again, I will not say this over and over for all of the things in season 2 that I would have done differently. With this one, I don't know if it's a creative choice I would have made, but I will tell you that when Dell thinks she's talking to the ghost of Papa Landry, and that's actually just time traveling Papa Landry, pulling the strings on his master plan. Whoa. That's a really cool plot device, and I thought that was really cool.
Wow. That would be something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love that or hate it, but I'm now thinking about it.
He's just hanging out under Dell's bed, just ready to scurry out and give some wisdom and then scurry back under.
I don't know. I almost would like Colton to be the horse more.
You remember that? That was fun. That was fun.
That's all we had last year.
That was a fun moment. A couple of things really quickly. when Alice saw that person running through the fields,
Yeah.
it did give me signs. And anytime I think of
Oh,
signs,
it did give you signs.
I
Yeah, I
am
can see
happy.
that. Yeah.
And so shout out to Signs, I guess. We shouting out movies from the early 2000s.
Shout out to Signs.
Shout
Yeah,
out to
shout
Signs.
out to Signs. That's right.
And also shout out to the song from the 70s, the one that he did with, we think, Alice. That was, I would like to hear that song more without them yapping on over top of it. I really like that song.
Yeah,
So-
mine was them playing that on the playing that old
was cool.
vinyl. That's the coolest moment of this of this episode. And season 1 has these character moments, and so it seems kind of trite for me to say this is my favorite moment of this episode. When they put that needle on the vinyl there and they start listening to this song, and then they hear who they believe is Alice in the song. Pretty cool. That was a cool moment, and I was very interested. The Colton stuff is bothering me more than it's intriguing me, but the 70s and Alice and her coming back with a completely changed, we're supposed to believe that Alice went and stayed with her dad, and now she doesn't care about art and music. She cares about marketing and being a big business girl. And we're supposed to attribute that to her father, when in reality, there's a chance she's already been a music star or something like it in the 70s. And so now she's doing what she needs to do because she's kind of had the ability to live that life or something like that. That was the best thread for me in this episode was the Alice thread. Yeah.
I think we would all be in agreement, and I think you're alluding to this, but if we spend more time in the 70s than we do in the 1800s, I'll be a happy boy.
I think early on we will.
better.
But I think that the 1800s will be a continual thorn in your side. And I think Jacob will end up back there. I guess we could say that to the
I don't want him anyway.
None of us do. Does anybody want Jacob in now that we've seen him?
No.
Do we want him in
we
2024?
didn't even get to see him Elf, when
No.
Elf was walking around New York
No.
and goofing off.
No,
We
he
get
just
to see that.
immediately knew 2024 vernacular.
We'll see
Yeah.
what happens. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get to the wait, what, and the, what is it?
Sink or swim.
Sink or
Brandon.
Sink or swim is what we
That's
call it
right.
That's what we call
here.
it. Thank you, Ryan.
Deck the hallmark. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about The Way Home Season 3. It is back. We're talking Episode 1. It's time for The Way What. It's where we talk about what in this episode made us go Way What. I'll start with you, Ryan.
Shout out to Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Wow.
Nicely done.
Thank you. So other than the
There's
embrace
a bomb
with
and Phantom, Joe.
Yeah. Other than the embrace with Dell and Jacob, maybe even really that, I just thought all those early Jacob scenes felt way too casual. I mean, just I know that there's a time lapse early on into the episode, but you've been looking for this dude for over 2 decades, and you wouldn't that first night, you wouldn't let him out of your sight. It's like when Han comes back in whichever fast that is,
Yeah.
and the first question isn't
five.
how are you alive
Yeah.
right now? It's just it's the same thing. It's just it just okay. Again,
you're
whether or not I
That's
like
that's a great wait. What? But to your point, tonally, the show, the math quiz was real fun. I know there's not an actual math quiz in this episode, but they don't know how to make it. It needs to be all mythos. It needs to be all just let's go hard
my
with
opinion.
the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
That's the way to save it, because the people's actions don't make any sense right now.
You can't convince me that Dell doesn't know about the pond. By
That
the way
is
that
huge.
By the way that she responded, here's the
So
thing.
this
One of my
we can do this. This should
one-
be the whole wait what. 'cause
One of my wait whats is Dell is so happy that Jacob is home that she goes and spends some time outside by herself on the swing. You don't if your son comes back, you're not leaving his side unless you were just surprised to see him because you didn't think that he could come back because you know about the
Well, here's another one, by the way, real quick. Sorry, Dan. Another one in relation to Dell. I'll skip ahead on mine a little bit. She finds out about a time traveling pond, and we don't even see her one time in 6 months be a little curious to go check it out.
Yeah. So also she does that. Her son comes home after a couple of decades and a half, whatever, give or take a few years. Her entire family and some of their friends all know about the pond and have been time traveling successfully for years now. And her missing son returns from whence he came from the pond, and she's just cool, easy breezy about all of this. And now here's the thing is, if you want to say that that's because she knows about it, that is terrible show running. Like, terrible. Because
there's so many reasons
why
to suggest
would she
out of
have
2
done
seasons.
this?
Yeah,
Why would she have done it?
Yeah.
All this time pining over,
it
like, oh, it makes more sense that she didn't know about it somehow, and everyone in her house uses it, and some of their friends use it on the weekends. Sometimes we rent it out to the neighbors. Sometimes is it Elliot's pond day? Sunday, he has Sundays, right? Like everybody knows about it, but
doesn't.
Elliot time travels.
He time traveled once.
He's been in the pond, bro. Literally, this woman has lived on this property for decades, and to our knowledge, she doesn't know about the pond. And when she finds out about the pond, she doesn't scurry down there for a look at the pond. She
doesn't put a toe in the pond.
She doesn't blink an eye that her whole family's using it and got the friends and family plan. She doesn't do any of that. She just goes, how'd y'all not tell me? Are you kidding me right now? It's terrible. And it's worse if I found out she knows about it. That's the problem, is it's bad now, and I think it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. That's just bad. The matriarch of this family who literally like doesn't just own the land, but she works the land. Yeah. She don't know about this pond. And then that's her reaction.
Oh, she knows.
Get out of here.
She knows.
But I agree with Dan, though, Bran. If she does know, we've come up with countless reasons throughout these 2 years as to why that would. Yeah, and that's I think that's the problem the show's going to run into.
Yeah, you would admit that, right? If she knows it's worse.
No,
what?
Not necessarily. That she could have come up with something. Listen.
Why wouldn't she say she knows?
Well, if one thing we know,
her daughter, her granddaughter, her son, her husband. Why wouldn't you?
I think Colton they must have talked about it. Her and Colton must have talked about it. He seems very intense when talking to Jacob about the pond. This guy, something's going on.
Okay, but
something is going on.
Yeah, you're grasping at straws here. That's the weakest link of this show.
You like straws.
Yeah, the straws are wonderful. The weakest link of this episode, goodbye, is the fact that Dell doesn't or does know about the pond. At this point, they're both bad. It's worse if she knows about it.
You're the weakest link.
Yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
You have a few fries.
Ryan, you got any more? That's my main one anyway, but I got more, but Ryan, it's still your turn.
I'll rip through mine real quick. What's what is the intern at the archives name?
Casey.
What is their name?
Casey.
Casey. Kat doesn't believe that Casey could somehow in any way, shape, or form be time traveling when Kat's entire existence revolves around the idea that multiple people are able to she's
That's
like,
right.
Casey couldn't be time traveling.
There's
That's
no way.
ridiculous.
I know Elliot can do it, but he's on our friends and family plan.
Casey's never shown up with wet jeans, not once.
Not once. Like she knows not to wear denim.
So that really bothered me.
Hey, would they social? I haven't time traveled, and I've been in that pond for years.
I'll do this next one as a lobster. Would they really have needed a press conference for this? Did they really need a press conference?
I mean, they would, but they certainly should have done better than the excuse they came up with.
I'll let you two handle that part.
Holy moly, Brand.
I didn't have a problem with it. And
Are you kidding me?
Here's why I don't have a problem with it, is they don't want to lie, right? And so they get as close to the truth as they can without
You think they did that because they didn't want to lie?
Yeah. They're an honest folk. They're an honest folk.
What? They lie every episode.
They're an honest
Where
folk.
were you? I was at the
They lie to each other, but not to the public. They're an honest folk.
Not to their constituents.
You think they came up with that story?
That's right.
Not because it was the best they could come up with, but because they didn't want to lie to the media?
That's right.
What's it like, man? I'd love to be you for a day. Maybe not a full day. Maybe a halfer. Maybe a morning till lunch.
I liked it. I thought it was great.
I don't want to be post-lunch, Bram.
No. Lord, no. No one does. It's my biggest cross to bear.
It's like Ryan getting off a plane.
Oh, easy now. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have brought all that up. Listen, so a couple more. This is more of a question than a wait what. Elliot and Kat. Is it weird that at no point in this entire run of their relationship that's now at least half a year old, they hadn't talked about moving in together? Or is it just like Kat really wants to spend time with her long lost brother and Elliot's respecting that? What do you think?
Can you ask it again? I'm sorry. Go ahead one more time from the top. It's after 11 o'clock here on the East Coast.
Elliot and Kat, they hadn't once talked about moving in together.
Not once. Correct.
Nah.
Well, he never had a good enough place, but now look at it. It looks
He
great.
talked with Alice
open
about
concept.
it. But yeah, but he
Open
didn't talk with
concept.
Kat about it.
What's up with that clock, you think? Oh, we'll
7
get to sink or
o'clock.
swim.
7
7
o'clock.
o'clock.
7 o'clock.
And then it still doesn't make any sense that Dell doesn't remember Alice from 1999. That's really stupid. And Alice's cell phone is Zach Morris level big. Those are my weight.
Yeah, it's nice. It's good.
Yeah,
That's good
listen,
stuff.
to your point about knowing Alice from the 1999s, the one person that does was 8.
Yes.
The one
Yes.
person
That's right.
that does recognize Alice from the 1999 was 8 at the time. She walks
It's
in
so
and he's
crazy that no one else recognized.
like, I remember you from when I was 8.
There is no one who watches this show who could think that that's not an inconsistency.
And we were forgiving of that in season 1, but as the years have gone by, I just think it's really stupid. Like, it's just really stupid. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just the fact that he just
He
clocks
didn't even
her
do one of these.
immediately.
He didn't even do one of
He
these
didn't go
numbers.
like, what do you
I
look like
feel
something. It's
vaguely
like,
familiar.
Oh, it's your buddy. It's Kat. It's your buddy from high school.
Yeah. That's about it.
Remember when she used to come over? It was around 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Thomas
Thomas
from the
Your boy,
1800s
your boy.
That's your boy.
does say this. I'd rather be alive and a liar than an honest dead man.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Do you want to be in cahoots with a fellow like that? Somebody who says I'd rather be what is it? Alive
and a
liar than an honest dead man. How do you trust a thing Thomas says? For the love of God, don't go back to the 1800s.
Yeah.
Don't do it anymore. He's a bad guy and he's up to bad things. He'd rather be alive and a liar than have the
This entire
backbone.
show is built around people lying.
I
This
don't.
entire
I don't
show
like 'em,
is built around people
and I
lying
don't want 'em.
to stay alive. Literally, it's the thesis of the show is we have to not tell you the truth because then it would maybe kill us. And so it's weird that that's a problem for you with Thomas unless you just don't want to go back to the 1800s.
Emily, you're right. Thomas is hot. Never forget. That's the thing.
Listen, I stand by the fact that I would rather Kat be with Thomas than Elliot. Right, like.
But he'd rather be alive than a liar.
Team
than
Tomcat.
honest.
Is it Tomcat? Is that what we're calling it?
Tomcat.
Tomcat. Okay.
I don't like Thomas. I don't like the 1800s, and that line was enough for me to be like, I don't trust you. How do you expect me to trust you? You said the quiet part out loud. That you're fine lying as long as you're alive. Dan.
I'll just do 2 quick ones. One, maybe it's just me, but I don't take out old family heirloom book and put glass of wine next to it. Maybe it's just me. I mean, it worked out in their favor. It did work out in their favor, but typically open container next to old family heirloom book is not what I would do. But maybe it's just me, and it did work out once again. Maybe I should do it more often. Maybe I should get out the old
she didn't
family heirlooms.
Yeah,
and
you'll
just
never know
dump
till you
wine on
try.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think she pulled out all the old books and just started going to town on them?
Yeah.
With
It was
wine?
like, give me some more wine.
Why stop there?
Yeah.
Why stop there? Maybe there's more to it.
And then lastly, I can't believe this got to me in the last wait what of this episode, but as soon as Jacob shaves his beard, he is a serial killer. Like, I don't like. Were you guys just going to try to skate by and not talk about the fact that as soon as he shaved that beard, he'd murdered multiple people? Are we really not doing this? You guys are going to stay quiet here? Are we really not doing this?
I'm not doing it.
Dan, I'd rather be
There are
a liar alive.
You know what? I'm with Thomas on this one. With Thomas.
There are bodies buried in that pond. That guy.
Well, the pond didn't want to time travel, Dan.
Are you kidding me
It's
right
tough.
now? He shaved that
interesting.
beard.
If the pond knew that you couldn't get out of the handcuffs, do you think it would time travel you somewhere, or would it let you sink to your death?
No, he's just putting them in there after they're already dead.
Okay, that's interesting.
Do you think dead bodies are floating up in 1884?
Well, I don't know. I just
1814,
think
whatever it
it's
is?
an interesting thought.
I just
would
know
time travel save you if it
I
needed
just know
to?
that you and I, there's a reason you and I have beards. We shave our beards. We look ridiculous.
100%.
But-
I've killed so many people.
But no, Jacob It should be, the law should either require that he's in jail or has a beard. Those should be the two options. He shaved his beard and he looked like he wore skin suits. It is not, I'm sorry, he did. Why? You guys can act like I'm alone on an island on this. That's fine. You want to have some decorum, that's fine. But I'm right. You know it. Back to you, Bran.
Let's get to sink or swim. It is where we talk about what we're sinking and what we're swimming. Ryan, you know the segment well.
Yeah, I'm familiar. I've been lamenting for probably we've been doing this 2 hours now. I've been lamenting all the things they have done that I wouldn't have agreed with, and I'm going to stop doing that. I'm also going to stop doing this, but this is the inverse. So for one last time, because this is where I've always done this throughout the 2 years. Man, Elliot as a villain would have been really cool.
Yeah, there's not a trace of that in this episode.
Yeah, they should have done that.
Wow.
I think it's dead. I think it's officially dead. I think he's a dead, honest man as a villain, and
his villain is honest and dead.
All right,
Yeah,
let's
I
do.
think they should have done that.
This brings me to mine, which mine was. I hope that Elliot's the one that pushed her in the pond, but I think we all know that it is unlikely that Elliot pushed her in the pond at the end.
It's a wrap
So
on that,
who do we
man.
think? Who do we think pushed her in the pond?
Ooh.
Who do we think?
They
pushed
want
her
you
in
to
the
think
pond?
it's Papa Landry.
Yeah, they want you to think
I
it's
mean,
Colton, right?
I think it's
Yeah.
either the most likely candidates are Papa Landry or Casey. I think those are the most likely candidates. Casey, to bring up Casey towards the beginning of this episode and then not do anything with it until the end where a mysterious person pushes Alice into the pond, that would lead me to think that maybe Casey has something to do with it, but I don't know.
All right.
That would
maybe
be
a
much better.
lobster.
Maybe a lobster.
Hey, all right.
Or maybe Elliot's.
Yeah, I was
Because
just-
Saw me
he
push the old Landry girl.
is the villain.
I'm pushing him with my claws.
Dana?
Here's a push. All right. Okay, sorry. I'm on camera now. I'm swimming, Bran. And I can tell you why I'm swimming is
Oh,
because
wow.
Oh yeah, I was sinking.
Thank
by the way.
you. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank
I was
you.
doing a little
Thank
both.
you.
I was what the
little
Hallmark
both. You were
because
sinking
I
and
forgot it
swimming.
was
That's
the
right.
segment.
Yeah, you were, of
Yep.
course. Thanks, Bran. I'm swimming because next week's episode is titled The Way We Were, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a film from the early 1970s starring Barbara Streisand and Robert Redford. And so that lends me some hope.
Say it again.
The Way We Were, a film with Streisand and Redford from the 70s. So I believe
Wow.
that we are going to be in the 1970s next week, and that makes me happy.
Do you think
Look
Barbara
at that.
Streisand will be there?
One producer, Aaron Shea, looked it up, and it's from 1973.
Do you think Barbara Streisand will be there?
I don't think Barbara Streisand will be on our TV
No,
screen.
don't rain on our parade with that news,
It's
Dan.
Rena
Jeez, man.
Salzman's favorite film of all time, so I'm
Wow.
glad I got that
Wow.
How
right.
about that? We did it, everybody. Congratulations to us. I got to be honest. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm hopeful to
We're
do
back,
this again
baby.
I'm
next
doing my
week.
best. I'm doing my best, listeners who think that I just hate the way home. I'm doing
I
my
thought
best.
we were pretty positive,
I'm doing my
except for
best.
Dan.
What?
Except for Dan.
win.
We'll be
Can't
back
win.
for that. And then join us tomorrow for another one. Until then, maybe the first to wish you
Merry Christmas! Deck the Hallmarks of Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.